Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Hello.
We both played through Kingdom Hearts 3, and we really have not had a chance to talk about it yet, but this is a game we both have been looking forward to for many years. I believe Doug actually pre-ordered back in the good old year, like 2014?
2014, yeah, for sure.
So this is a game we've been waiting for. Both of us did a whole bunch of Kingdom Hearts last year, played through the collections, did all that stuff to get ready for this, and yeah, we haven't ever had a chance to talk about it since beating it a little while ago. So
Yep.
I have your general ideas, but what are your general feelings on Kingdom Hearts 3, aka one of the best games that's ever been made?
It is a game that just could never live up to what I wanted it to be. Like, it was funny because I remember, like, I finished it. Someone asked me, I was like, hey, so was it worth, like, the 14-year wait? I was like, true love during wartime is, like, worth that time. Kingdom Hearts 3 is not. No, I liked it. I did like it quite a bit. I think my impressions was that it is a very, very good Kingdom Hearts game. It doesn't often become more than a good Kingdom Hearts game.
That's probably fair.
Yeah, and I think just with like a lot of franchise today with like God of War, like God of War is not just a God of War game anymore. Or like whenever they have like these franchises, like even the Shadow of Colossus remake wasn't just like a straightforward remake. There's like some interesting things. The Ratchet and Clank remakes. It's like when you have these old franchises, when you kind of reintroduce them, I have all these thoughts in my head about like it's not so simple for it just to be that thing anymore. And I felt like Kingdom Hearts 3 was a very good Kingdom Hearts game.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you on the other hand. So yeah, I'm curious, like that's my perspective. So I'm curious like what you're thinking.
So I went through starting last March and did like one Kingdom Hearts game every single month pretty much until Kingdom Hearts 3. And I think what it was just having waited so long since I played 2 and then going back through and I never really bothered with any of the side story games, and then I kind of realized as I got closer, like, oh crap, like I'm gonna be so far behind. I think just like having that feeling of all this building and really seeing it building, it's that epic conclusion that came like right at the right time where it's okay, I finished all these up 3 or 4 months ago. It's all fresh in my mind and just every little detail sticking out of going like, oh that's so cool, oh that's so cool, and then just seeing how having played Kingdom Hearts 1 less than a year ago, how far the combat's evolved and how much more fluid it feels and how much better it feels. And it's just, in my mind, it's a perfect example of Kingdom Hearts, and Kingdom Hearts is already one of my favorite games. So you're going like, this is a game that, Kingdom Hearts 2 is a game I'd say is probably one of my 10 favorite games of all times, and you took that and made it better. And you concluded all these story arcs that I'm heavily invested in, and just everything about it was, yep, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted right there.
Yeah, I could definitely appreciate that they like every story, like for better or for worse, literally every storyline they gave like actually a pretty satisfying conclusion to. I think that was pretty exciting seeing. Even for like the minor stories you didn't really have a huge investment in, it was still kind of cool seeing that conclusion. We did preface that we're actually probably gonna go into spoilers, like just inadvertently talking about this game.
Yeah, it's been like a month or two now at this point, so.
Yeah, but if you're listening, I just want to make sure that we're like, hey, we're definitely gonna be talking spoilers.
But anyway, I guess the point that, and I feel like this is the weird thing, because I feel like for those like uninvested in Kingdom Hearts, the first thing you got to talk about is the Disney worlds, because that's the selling point, and to me that's not the selling point, but I know to a lot of people it is. So Disney worlds, you had Tangled, you had Frozen, you had Big Hero 6, you had Toy Story, you had Monsters Inc., you had Pirates. What'd you think? Where were you at with Disney worlds on this?
I felt that they varied wildly
Yes.
in quality. I guess just real quick, like just like my favorite ones by far were like Big Hero 6 storyline, which is like awesome. Like they integrated that so well. While I think my least favorite was probably Monsters Inc.
Which
by
hurts
far.
a little.
Like I thought the Monsters Inc. level was just like was boring. It wasn't interesting. It had an interesting setup, but just like there's such a cool opportunity with the like Monsteropolis or Monster University or just something.
Yeah.
And like the least interesting place is the factory, and then it was like areas of the factory you haven't seen before. It's like,
which
all right,
just kind of look like any other generic factory you've been in.
Yeah, exactly. And that was just kind of how I felt. I felt like when you go like doing a really really strong world is like super exciting, and then doing a really but then like going to a world you just like aren't feeling. But it's like okay, the next like 3 hours are in this world. I
gotta fight through this. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you feel about it?
I didn't mind the monsters one. I think I like it. Kind of mixed things up a little bit, kind of being more straightforward, not necessarily like this big sprawling thing, but it definitely felt like, okay, I don't know if this was something that we didn't quite put as much time into, or just it's something that we just, well, let's try this differently. Because I mean, the whole thing is just a straight chase scene. That's all the Monsters Inc. world is for the most part. Is you just chasing them down, and I feel like it would have worked if it was a little bit shorter. And it's just like, oh, we're just going to go on a quick tour of the factory and then move on. But I feel like they wanted to make this very linear segment its own big world. And it just, what you were going for and what you made available just didn't quite match up.
It felt like a typical Kingdom Hearts world.
Yeah.
And that's the ones I like the least, where the ones where like I felt like I was doing a standard Kingdom Hearts story. And then the best ones I thought were like they like, let's do something, we can do something more with this. So yeah, I mean, how did you feel? Like, what was your favorite, least favorite sort of ones?
Big Hero 6 easily my favorite. I just think the way that city worked and just running around the city, and the way that the Big Hero 6 characters and the Kingdom Heart characters kind of connected there, just so well done. Everything about that world just felt great. My least favorite one, and I honestly just think it's pure story related, because I'm in Kingdom Hearts for the story. The Pirates one, and I think it purely has something has to do with the fact that just like I got 10 minutes into that world and I was like, who are these people? What are they referring to? Why am I like in this weird like oasis-y desert looking thing to start with? Like, just none of it. It just all went over my head. And I think like I just never recovered from that initial impression of it, of okay, what is this? Because I did really like the pirate ship combat was kind of fun for a minute. I think it was a little overly long, but just the whole being in there and just going like, I don't care.
Yeah, it was weird because like I think you actually hadn't seen that particular Pirates of the Caribbean. What's the third movie?
I believe so, yes. And I don't, if I saw it, I may have saw it when it came out like 10, 12 years ago or whenever it was.
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm trying to recall like that movie. I'm just like, well, did I even care enough to even like try and recall it? I will say though, the one thing I did like about that, I think something that carried through all the Disney worlds, so they did a very, very good job of actually justifying why the organization was interested in that particular Disney world. Because the one I thought was really clever about that was that the Davy Jones guy, or I can't remember his name.
It was Davy Jones, yep. Yes, that part I knew.
Yeah, that his heart was in this box, so somebody had removed his heart, but he wasn't a nobody, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
But the thing that like the organization member gets really disappointed by, it's like, oh, it's just his literal heart, not the Kingdom Hearts soul heart thing. I thought that was like really cool. And I did like, and that's why I liked like a lot of the levels. Like I thought Frozen was really interesting, even though I don't like Frozen at all. I thought Frozen was actually one of the better levels, was because the one organization member was talking about the sort of balance of like the Princess of Light, and hey, we could maybe even use Elsa as a leader of darkness in case things fall through.
Yeah.
I loved how they justified that. Like every level had some sort of justification.
Which I don't feel like necessarily had the same. I feel like there were some justifications in it in some of the older games, but at the same time, I feel like this just, at one point in each one of those worlds, there's that moment where you're like, oh shit, I get it. Like I think I didn't even realize. I don't even think I really caught on until the Tangled one, where it was like, you have done nothing Kingdom Hearts related in this entire world. And then in the last scene, they're like, oh yeah, like if you fail, we know that we can use Rapunzel as one of the new princesses of light. And you're like, oh, okay. Oh, and then Toy Story, because the toys are alive, but they're not. And it just starts, all just kind of starts clicking. And you're like, oh, okay, each one of these is going to have something cool like that.
Yeah, they each took like an interesting piece of the Kingdom Hearts lore and then applied it to that Disney world. Like the one I thought was also super clever was actually, well, I didn't like the Monsters Inc. level. The setup was that the unversed are created from bad emotions.
Yeah.
And that in the Monsters Inc. world, even though it's a sequel, they still had a bunch of leftover screams that could be easily transferred into unversed. I was like, oh. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah. And I think and again, I think that's where this game, in my mind, becomes one of my favorite games ever, is just because the story and the way that everything just works together so well, and taking these weird Disney concepts and applying them to this like ungodly confusing and messed up ridiculous Kingdom Hearts story, and everything still 95% of the time gels together really, really well.
Yeah, it is weird. Like this very stupid story is actually like making some sort of sense in the specific context.
Yeah, I don't think I could sit down and like explain it to somebody who has never heard of Kingdom Hearts before, but if you get it, you get it, and that's what's cool.
Yeah.
I know that the one going into this, and this always comes back to me because for as long as I've known you, you've always been like, oh, I want video games to look like Toy Story.
Holy shit! I go. Ah. This might have been one of the issues with the game is I felt the game peaked at that
Toy
level.
Story. It was an odd one to start with because I honestly think if you swap Monsters Inc. and Toy Story, you have a very different feeling of this game because then
Oh yeah, for sure.
you lead in with going like, oh, this is Monsters Inc. This is Monsters Inc. This is gonna be really cool, and you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe our level design is still similar to older Kingdom Hearts games. That's fine, but this is still like it's Monsters Inc. This is cool, and then you go to Tangle and you're like, oh, this is much more open, and then you hit Toy Story and you're like,
Yeah.
wow. And I do think that that's kind of one of those issues where you flip that, and I think a lot of the like criticisms of both because Monsters Inc. is a weird level to be in the middle, being one of the more compact levels.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we just talk about Toy Story World for like a half hour?
Yes, go for it.
So, the one thing I always like about the Kingdom Hearts level select in general is that they never hide which level you're going to next. Like it's very clear, like you're gonna go to the Toy Story
Oh
world,
yeah,
or it's very clear you're going to go to this one. So I was super excited when you get like when you're going to the toy store. I was like, yes, I got this stupid gummy ship stuff. It's never particularly great. It was already we're not gonna get gummy ships. I'm not gonna talk about that.
not worth it.
And then so you fight this kind of annoying boss to even get there. I played on hard mode. The boss before the Toy Story one in the gummy ship level was actually kind of annoying. And then they played the most fucking insane cutscene I think I've ever seen in a video game. It reminded me. Okay, no, okay, I'm not gonna talk about what it reminded me yet. But that was such a good surprise of like here's some Lost versus 13
Yeah,
trailer, and then so at first it's like, oh wow, that was insane, and then Rex plays video games in Toy Story universe, recognizes you from that particular video game, and it plays super well because of that, like his instant recognition
yeah,
and the jokes they do with that recognition. And I just thought that was like literally my favorite moment of the game was that part was
really.
that introduction to Toy Story universe because I thought it was such a good surprise. And then I really loved the mall level in general because I thought it was like just really interesting for a Toy Story one. I liked it was one of the few levels I felt like it was worth exploring through and seeing all these different things and Easter eggs and
Yeah,
that sort of thing. It has a pretty cool boss fight. But I think that was just like my favorite moment of the game, by far was the whole Toy Story stuff. And I know you weren't super hyped about it.
it was okay. I ran into issues of just like figuring out exactly where I needed to go next, and I think there was some weird things when you got into kind of the toy store thing of like, okay, where is this? What level is it on? And there were a couple of points where I felt like I was just running in circles. Like, okay, like where am I going? Like where am I trying to be? And whether that was on me because I think I had bought this and just sat there and played it till like 3 a.m. So it might have been like,
Oh yeah,
it might have been one of those where it's like 1:30. It's like, well, what am I? Well, event. Yeah. I'm finding a where, and then I just kind of got caught in circles. So part of that might be on me, but I really just feel like that level was just a little bit too long.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It was cool. They did a lot of amazing things. I love the video game integration there. The mech suits were kind of a cool change of pace, but again, I feel like that change of pace just felt weird because I was just getting into Kingdom Hearts combat, and it's like, oh yeah, now that you just started playing Kingdom Hearts combat,
gotcha.
Let's throw the biggest wrench we're gonna throw into this right now. 4 hours into the game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of almost one of those things where like I didn't want to use the mech because I was just really enjoying like this is really good Kingdom Hearts combat. Oh, I can't. I have to use this mech now. Like I want to play Kingdom Hearts right now.
Oh, okay. I can absolutely understand that. I think again, like it's weird with its placement in the story, kind of like we're talking about. Like it would make sense for that to be put later. I think a lot of those issues that you had. I think the thing I liked about the level particularly was this was the first time I felt like it elevated beyond a typical Kingdom Hearts game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Kingdom Hearts 3 is gonna be something more, and I think that kind of screwed with my expectations for like the rest of the game.
Yeah, because like you said, you start in the high point and then you're kind of downhill from there. I think until you hit the Keyblade or until you hit Big Hero 6, and then you get to the Keyblade Graveyard and shit goes crazy bananas and it's amazing.
I did like the Frozen boss though. The Frozen boss I thought was another really good surprise. It was like the Ice Wolf with like some weird like world-ending darkness rain spell thing
Yeah.
that looked insane. I was just like, why is this not a Final Fantasy game?
I do really think the Frozen world worked way better. I think that was one of the ones that
Mhm.
Entangled both I think were kind of ones where I saw it's like really of all the Disney properties we're gonna go that route, and
Yeah, yeah,
Tangled worked. I don't think it was fine. But Frozen I think was much better than I had ever anticipated it being,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I mean is I think one of those weird things where you just get for kind of writing something off just based on concept alone. But yeah, I thought the bosses were really cool there. I liked the level was really big. They did some cool things with world interaction in that one as well, with like some of the snowstorm things and things like that. So
Yeah, you get to fight alongside the ice monster, which is
yeah,
kind of a neat surprise. Because I was like, I remember the movie. He's like, he's a good guy. I was like, how they you get your boss fight out of him,
yep.
and
And
then he's
then
also a good guy, so he gets to fight alongside. He's like, that's pretty fun. That's
that's
cool.
a
That's neat.
good combination there.
Yeah, yeah.
So moving on to the good stuff.
The good
Um,
stuff.
Once you hit the Kingdom Hearts graveyard, and I think I
Oh my
remember
god.
at like 10 o'clock one night, like messaging you, being like, I got like, I'm almost at the end because I got to the graveyard and I'm like, this is it. I've got to be in like the final hour now. Like we're at the graveyard, like oh the Keyblade graveyard, and you're like, oh this is gonna be so good. And then like 10 hours.
It is insane how long that finale quote unquote is. Like literally 2/3 of this game is Disney stuff, and then the last third is just pure Kingdom Hearts
And
nonsense.
it's so good. Just
God.
I mean, you could walk through every scene in that and just I there's so much that I love in that from the moment that you get there,
Yeah,
just the way that they do things and the way that they bring all of the lore, all of the references, all of the
yeah,
characters like and they give there are very few characters in this game that I feel like don't get the ending they deserve, that don't get a good, meaningful, impactful ending.
yeah.
And it's just it's one of those things that's crazy to me, and I feel like if you were to go back like 5 months ago I would have been like there's no way in hell they can do this, you can't wrap
Mhm.
all this up, and they did, and it's
Yeah.
glorious.
It is like one of the most insane finales like I've ever played in a game because it is a finale of finales. Like literally this game, like it's kind of weird because like, you don't realize how many Kingdom Hearts games kind of end on not ending.
Yeah,
Um, like Birth by Sleep, was yeah, like Birth by Sleep. I thought that was the most interesting stuff was all the Birth by Sleep stuff, like them finding Aqua, and Aqua
yeah.
is like a sad, depressed person who's been like sucked into the darkness. That boss battle is fucking insane.
Oh, it's so good.
And it is really really hard on Proud as well. Um, but I just like that finale, just like, hey, you know that like thing we didn't talk about? Here's the conclusion of that. Like the Birth by Sleep going back to Radiant Garden,
Yep.
and with that Ventus fight and being able to play as Aqua for a bit was like awesome. And then all the little boss fights at the end where it's like every organization member gets like their one little speech before they die as
Yep.
well. That like this is my character giving my speech about why I'm doing the things I do. It's just fun. I liked it.
Yeah, and I like that like each ending, like as or each one of those members, like as you got to that area, it's like okay, this is where we wrap up the story of Chain of Memories. Oh, we go to the next one. This is oh okay, this is the wrap up for Dream Job Distance. Oh, okay, this is the wrap
Yeah.
up for Riku's story. Like oh okay, this is, and each one of those as you go through there, like once I kind of figured that out after I think the first or second, like the second one, I kind of got to the next split, and it's like, ooh, do I want to do the Birth by Sleep ending next, or do I want
Yeah.
to? Because my
I
first,
did think about that. I was like, which character do I care to see their ending more? It's like Riku over Mickey for sure. I'm sure
yep,
Mickey's gonna be fine.
yeah, Mickey will make it through. You can't kill Mickey. It's a Disney thing, I'm sure. I
Yeah,
gotta imagine that's somewhere in this contract that's 800 pages long. But
exactly. I
yeah, I think like everything in there, and just there were moments where stuff happened that just came out of nowhere that just floored me, like the cell phone game where you get all like the cell phone username things. Like I kind of was like, what the hell is this? And then like as it like there's weirder and weirder names popping, I'm like, okay. And then you kind of like realize like, oh, these are like people who, and then it's just so cool.
Who like literally played the cell phone
Yeah,
game. Like, your character from that cell phone game is now canonically like helped Sora in the
yeah.
final battle.
And it's
I
just like
mm,
even those kind of things are just insane.
I think the thing that kind of I think the issue I started having with like the finale and kind of like one of the big issues with Kingdom Hearts 3 is because we did a lot. I basically did a lot of research, but there's points when I started like kind of losing the plot. One of the big things was when Sora gets killed and
Yeah, and like
everybody
doubles
dies,
back.
but yeah. And then like now you're gonna talk with this character from the cell phone game for like 20 minutes. I'm like, I don't have no idea what's going on.
Well, you
And
grab
that's
more
like
Soras.
yeah, and that was the thing that like I didn't quite, and that was the thing that kind of like that sucked about the finale is like you feel this like this like, oh, it's coming to an end, it's cool, I get this, and then suddenly like if you just don't understand a section, like you're still stuck on a section for like a good 30 minutes of like not quite understanding what's going on,
Yeah.
and it's not super great. And I think that death scene was like a big like, it's cool that you're gonna kill all your characters, which is super weird. But like I don't understand what's going on. Like it's not even like an interesting don't understand what's going on. It's like I don't who is this character? I think I vaguely remember you from back cover.
Yeah. And I think I had that same feeling when you got there. I was like, this is, I just had that feeling of this is it. This is how we're ending this, because you have that, you have like, oh, we're at the Keyblade graveyard, like, oh, here's all the characters, here's everything, it's going, is this really how we're ending this?
Yeah.
And then you get back and it's like, wait, I'm doing the same scene. Like, oh, okay, now we're gonna get to the family. That was just some bullshit side story stuff. We'll just push that to the side now.
Yeah, it was like a weird non sequitur. Although the one thing I did like is like throughout the thing, like they did make it pretty clear that the main characters like really weren't sure if they were gonna win this battle.
Yeah.
And like in that point, it's like, oh, they actually are kind of outgunned.
Yep.
Like when Terra comes in and just like smokes everybody was like really interesting. Like when Zeo, Terra, or
whatever it is, yeah,
came out and just like smoked everybody. It's like, oh, maybe they're not actually well prepared for this final battle. Maybe it was cool seeing kind of stakes going into it of like, they actually are outnumbered. They might not do this. Everybody tells Sora's plan is like stupid all the time.
Yeah, can we pause there for 1 second? My
Yeah.
favorite thing that developed through the course of Kingdom Hearts is the fact that Sora's a moron. It's never like explicitly stated, I don't think, in the first two games, but as the series goes on, there's more and more just like, dude, we can't tell Sora. Sora's gonna mess this up. Sora, what are you doing? Why Sora? Do we really need to, like, what is Sora doing? And there's so many great references to that where they're just like, shh, don't, I need you to go do this, but don't tell Sora where you're going, because he'll try and do it, and he's just not good enough. He's just not going to do it. He's going to die. So if we tell him this, he will go die. So please just go do this for him. And it's
that was the whole thing with like Aqua, with like the Riku and Mickey going out to save Aqua. It's like, just don't tell him that we're going to be in the world of dark. Like they're just trying to get him away from the world of darkness. Like they sent him like a weird mission to develop the power of waking, whatever the fuck that meant.
I think sure, that came back somewhere.
I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah.
It wasn't as brutal as like Kingdom Hearts 3D, where like Nomura has all of his characters from The World Ends With You like talk smack at Sora.
Oh yeah, the whole yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess kind of to slowly start wrapping this up here. The ending. So you get there, you beat Xehanort.
Are we not going to talk about that final battle at all? Because that was fucking sweet.
It was pretty great. Yeah.
It was mechanically a mess, but it was a lot of like, it was super epic.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe that, because I think that's one of those things where like a year from now I'm gonna think that's one of the coolest boss fights ever. At the time, it definitely was not.
Yeah, like fight all 13 organization members at once, like hell yeah, like that was sweet. And then you fight like a super crazy, I don't know, honestly no idea what the hell's going on for most of it.
It was somehow Xehanort in some way, shape, or form in the weird world.
I will say by far my favorite boss fight though was the one where you're going into all three Ansems. Like you're going against
that was really cool.
Ansem, Xemnas, and then young Xehanort. Like that was just sick, because that was like the conclusion of 3D essentially, was that fight.
Yeah, and that was the furthest out we'd been Kingdom Hearts story wise. So it's kind of like, this is really where we want to be at that point. But yeah, the last boss battle was really cool. There's some great things that they did there, and just the whole thing from the moment where you go to, I don't even think I can pronounce the name of what it was, the world.
Yeah, I think I had to call you later. It's like, can you explain what this world is?
But yeah, that world, just from that moment to the end, just everything you're doing, whether it's fighting all of them, Xehanort, and the many different stages of that battle, just everything is so epic.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me the opposite of God of War, where I felt like God of War was like very, very not sloppy at all. Like there's nothing in God of War I would say was sloppy. And they did like a lot of building up to an eventual thing.
Yeah.
And then Kingdom Hearts is like, we're gonna do it. We're just gonna get there. We're gonna do every finale ever. It's gonna be sloppy as hell for most of it,
but it's gonna be so good.
Yeah, and it's like it's kind of hit or miss like most of the way through. But it's like, you know what? I just like that they went there.
Yeah,
like that final fight. And that's why I appreciate that.
Yeah, and again, I think the opening scene of like the chess match and everything, and just having that resolution at the end of going like, oh, okay, like these are the two big guys, and this really is the story more so of Xehanort and
Ericus?
Ericus, yes, thank you. It was one of those more like, oh god, I'm going to pronounce it wrong if I don't hear it first. But it is kind of more their story, and you kind of get this feeling like Kingdom Hearts 3 is really the epitome of them kind of playing this chess game over the course of the series so far. And how, this Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't the end of Kingdom Hearts, but is kind of the end of this chapter. And I think that was just this great analogy that this whole game, this whole series goes back to this moment at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3 of them just going like, hey, like, we're just playing like this friendly game. At the end, it really is what they end up doing, where they're arranging their pieces, they're getting everybody together, they're really are going through strategically to try and figure out how can we do this. And I think that was just a really cool way to kind of really show that, hey, you know what, there might be some new Kingdom Hearts. You see, obviously, with the ending with Riku and Sora, there's more to be told about these characters.
Yeah.
But this particular stage is done.
Yeah. Do you? I felt like it didn't bookend hard enough though, because I was kind of ready to like not move on from Sora necessarily. Like I just wasn't. I guess I just wasn't ready for that secret movie. Where I was like, oh no.
I think okay. So I think here's my thing. I was very happy until it was like, okay, why aren't Sora and Kyrie just like together on Destiny Island? Like everybody else is there. Like you could have saved that little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And we could have been happy there, and you could have, in a similar way to like Kingdom Hearts 2, where they have to go take the Mark of Mastery. You could have given some like, oh shit, Sora, like something else happened. Like Riku gets trapped in this other world. Like that would have been fine to me. But like, I feel like this game in the series has pretty consistently been like Sora and Kyrie trying to find each other.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up the big, giant, major arc of this series over the course of, what, like 15 years with going like, haha, and they're separate again.
Yeah. It just felt
kind of lazy. It almost felt lazy, where it's like, we know we want this to continue. We don't, like, how do we have Sora and Kyrie end? Like, what do we do with that? And it's like, well, let's just keep them separate. We'll deal with that next game.
Yeah, and then the secret movie is like, oh, by the way, now Riku and Sora are somewhere like totally different, and it's just like it was a thing, and then they had like, oh, but you remember those characters from back cover? Okay, now they're involved too. It's like, guys, like you guys just could have just stopped being Kingdom Hearts for like 10 seconds just to end your game. They added too many like weird mysteries, like all of a sudden at the end. It wasn't like Kingdom Hearts 2 had like a super cool secret movie where it's just like, ooh, what is this? Yeah. But this one it's like, oh man, the bullshit continues.
But like even you could like you said, there's too many. Pick one.
Yeah.
Like, either send Riku, and Riku's, like, sitting in the weird whatever he was, or you've got the guys from back cover with the box, or, whichever one of those threads you kind of want to end hanging is fine. But I just feel like you kind of get this, you're like, oh, God, that was, like, emotionally draining, all these endings building up, and then you're like, oh, but we don't even get the ending that we want, which is Sora, Kyrie, Riku sitting at Destiny Island smiling. Like that's all you want at the end of this.
Yeah, exactly. You can pick up that cutscene later, but don't give me some like weird mysterious
or have that be your ending, and your secret movie is like, oh, now Sora and Riku are here. We don't know how they got there. We don't know what happened between Happy on Destiny Island.
Oh, you just want that. You don't want him to speak. You just want that happy moment with him and Kyrie and everybody together.
Yeah, I just like the amazing scene on the beach where they're all like, just every character you can imagine is there hanging out having a great time, and then you're like, oh, except for like the main character and the person he's been trying to find for the last 14 years.
Yeah, and we're not going to explain anything till Kingdom Hearts. Like come on, guys, we had like 15 years. You need to not have yeah,
and that's kind of my only issue with it. But I don't mind the secret movie. I don't mind sending them away. I don't mind the box. It's just I wanted that, and that was my one letdown in the ending part. Is just going like, come on, like, give us this.
yeah. It wasn't an interesting enough like teaser for the next one. It was just like a little bit. It was just kind of confusing. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't immediately exciting. Like the back cover characters coming back wasn't like, ooh. It was like, okay.
That was It was another one of those. Oh God, who was that guy again?
Who was that? Yeah, and it's like, shoot. And then it's like, now Sora's in the real world, or is he in the world ends with you? We don't know. It's like, all right, guys.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, I think just because this one took so long to resolve, it's like, okay, now we're gonna have 6 more games before we get to like the part that I care about for this one.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and honestly, like when Kingdom Hearts 3 was done, and I saw that, I was like, I think I'm good.
See, and again, and I think that was my thing, is had they been sitting there, had they stayed on Destiny Island in the tree, and they were just there, and they were happy, and everybody was there, I think it would have been like, okay, Kingdom Hearts, you did your job. I am a very happy person. I started this like in middle school or high school, and here I am like a well-grown married adult, and you finally wrapped up, but no. So
no. Yeah,
yeah,
I think that was kind of the thing. I think that kind of that actually did kind of like sour me like on like the full because I just you just don't get that they for whatever reason they just don't want to give you that closure and like it's like all right I get you got to make your next game but just
come
a
on,
little something.
come on, yeah. So Kingdom Hearts 3, I worth the wait or not, it's a very good game, and it has a lot of
Mhm.
interesting elements, and there are those little nitpicky things that I think you can get at, but I think
Yeah,
overall I know I consider it to be one of my favorite games I ever played, and I know you're a little bit more sour, but that's okay.
yeah, yeah. I just think Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix is a better game. Just make sure.
And with that note, we'll leave you hanging on that one for another 14 years. um,
Yeah, or until the DLC comes out.
we are Workforce Gaming. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming, or subscribe, follow wherever you're listening, and we'll see you later.
Bye.